Heihachi Mishima is completely dead. And that is why he is returning to Tekken on September 30th. Welcome to the second and final recap of the Heihachi Mishima Tekken Talk. The Tekken Talks are 2.5-hour live streams where the Tekken developers sit down and give a presentation on the upcoming update. They talk about some of their design philosophies, they show some of the character, and it's generally a cool look into what the developers are thinking. I think that's hard to come by these days, and it's honestly cool to see. It's just 2.5 hours long because they give the presentation in Japanese, Michael Murray translates, and they go back and forth. It takes a bit of a while. So if you don't have 2.5 hours to sit down, I try and give a faster recap here. Some people have enjoyed taking my timestamps, actually, which I'm scrolling through right now. Take a screenshot if you need to, and watching the original presentation with a bit of this guided view or skipping around to where they want to go. So here those are, in case you want to. Otherwise, stick around and we'll go through Heihachi as quickly as possible. We went through all the quality of life changes in the last video, so I wanted to focus on Heihachi in this one because both of those sections had so much depth that I didn't want to half-ass either one. Before we start, there were comments in the last video calling me a shill. In response to that, I'd want to say there are creators who had exclusive access to Heihachi early. I was not invited and do not have any exclusive access to that content. I'm watching the same content that you guys can find on YouTube, and I'm not paid by Namco to say anything. It just so happens that I think the changes coming to Tekken are positive, and I think enjoying positive things coming to a game that I enjoy makes the game more enjoyable. Crazy concept. Let's talk about Heihachi. So release dates here because I know people will ask. September 30th for early access. I think that's the ultimate edition of the game. I'm not sure how that ended up working out. And then the official release will be 3 days later. Or 4 days later, October 3rd. And then if you're in Central European time, just add a day. So October 1st or October 4th. Again, in the last video, we talked about development timeline, all the changes coming like that. They talk about some Heihachi lore, which is pretty cool. They show some screenshots, but they're also going to show the gameplay, which is awesome. The stage, unlike the beach stage, I believe is paid DLC. So if you don't own the stage and you're playing online, you just won't end up on this stage, right? I think the random select will probably filter it out. I'm not sure how it works. I'm not under the hood. That's just my guess. They show some of the costumes in character select. Let's take a look at that now, actually, even though we looked at it in the last video. Yeah, Heihachi on the main screen, pretty cool. And then costume 1 and 2 are new. They seem to be inspired by his end of Tekken 7 costume, where his gi rips. Here it's not ripped, it's just one shoulder off. But they show chakra beads, and I think that they talk about it, but I don't know the significance of the lore behind that, right? Anyways, let's talk about the character from a nerdy Tekken perspective. So the design philosophy of this character, I'll turn him down for a little bit. The design philosophy of this character is they wanted him to be powerful and overwhelming. They wanted to give him 2 stances, the Fujin Kamae and Raijin Kamae stances. And then they wanted to introduce this new mechanic, the ultimate Mishima style warrior instinct. We'll explain all of these. Let's get started with just some of his new moves. They tried to keep him as faithful as possible to the original Heihachi, but obviously wanted him to be stronger as well. First move, forward, 1+2. This is a new heat engager, safe advancing mid with 2 palms. This is basically a demon paw, right? Forward, 2 from Kazuya, forward, 2 from Jin, forward, 2 from Devil Jin. It's -8 on block. It's a dash move, meaning even though it's probably sidesteppable to the left, all you need to do is delay your dash or do a wave dash into a dash, and you'll be able to realign with your opponent's sidestep. So, pretty strong option considering Heihachi didn't have a safe advancing mid like this before. He would run up and do down forward 1. He would run up and do forward 3. This is new and probably pretty scary because it allows him to control a lot more space. He also has a new mid, back 4. This is actually a nerfed move. His old back 4 was a homing mid. This one is only designed to track to his weak side, his left, or his right. So the opponent who does sidestep left will be caught by this move. But as far as I know, the frame date on the move is exactly the same. 18 frame startup, -8 on block. It's just no longer homing. So they wanted to give him an intentional weakness where you have to sidestep this move to the right. But I'm not exactly a fan of that because it seems to be made to justify the other changes, which are very, very strong. Down back 2 is a returning move. Exact same frame data as far as I know. The opponent is left in the crouching state, as you can see by the bottom right here. It says crouching. But the animation is unique, so that's kind of cool. If I turn up the audio and you listen to Heihachi, though...
This kick is to address that left side.
He says the same voice line, but there's a bit of a delay. Now, the voice line was crucial to help react to this move. Heihachi's character design is built on not having many lows, so the fact that he is able to do this low possibly more reliably because the voice line comes later is actually a big deal. They also talk about other returning favorite moves like his forward 2, big mid unsafe launcher, and then his other iconic moves, 1-2 into the cancel, 1-1-2 there, 1-2-2. All of these moves very punishable, but they look more like the standard Mishima moves, whereas Kazuya and Devil Jin have different animations. Forward 4, a returning move as well. And then here they're talking about new animations. They redid the motion capture for some animations using a actual Kyokushin karate practitioner. I'm not familiar with who it was. They say it was a 3-time champion. But you can see it when they show his down forward 1. So yeah, here it's coming up. His down forward 1 previously covered a lot of space. It looks a bit stubbier now. It's animated differently. I realized I paused it during, so let's look at it again. And then they also showed a new poke, down back 3, right? And as I mentioned before, Heihachi having lows, not having lows, is part of his identity. So this is kind of a big deal. And just to highlight that, I want to show you this clip of Nii. Here we go. This is Nii in Tekken 7 playing Armor King, defending against the Heihachi. And he knows that Heihachi does not have good lows. So you'll look at that, you'll look at him stand block. Right? The timer says 50 seconds at the start of this clip. Want to be technical? Probably 51 seconds. He knows Heihachi has no lows. His back is to the wall. Heihachi has a bunch of wall splatting moves. 1-1-2. Down forward 1-2. So he's just blocking. Right? He's willing to take the lows. He's getting an understanding of the opponent's... Oh, here we go. He had one bad duck, and look at what happened. He had one bad duck. That forward 4 was guaranteed. What happened? Here we go. Once this forward 4 hits, this follow-up is guaranteed. Floor break, terrible situation. And yes, Nii is playing a bit more defensive than one would expect. But this is to highlight how the counterplay to Heihachi really was just stand block, right? The idea that you had to respect his lows is not a factor. And then he goes for the reactable low, but it's on wake up. So it's a bit harder to react to. So that's a little bit of Heihachi lore if you're newer to Tekken. He's not supposed to have lows. So even an innocuous low poke like this enables the rest of his kit to activate. The crucial detail. Part of the new mocap as well is they have this new down forward 1-2. Right here, down forward 1-2, new animations. Tons of new animations for Heihachi, but cool how they tried to keep it kind of faithful to his original style, which I'm a big fan of. One of the new big changes is he has a bunch of charge moves. They call them hold techniques because you hold the button. This is not something Heihachi really had before. I erroneously mentioned previously that this is kind of new to Tekken, that you can hold and release a button perfectly to get a new input. That's the new Heihachi mechanic. Sorry, I didn't explain that first. Heihachi now has a just frame release mechanic. So if you let go at the perfect time, he gets blue sparks. In the last video, I said this is new. That's not true. Technically, in Tekken 4, Jin had a just frame laser scraper, where if you let go of the third hit of his douche, douche, douche perfectly, he had a blue spark. It became unblockable. It was insane. They've decided to bring that back in this game, and it really buffs the properties of his moves. So back to this move, Rashomon, is +2 on block. But the perfect back 2, the perfect release, is +6. And the cue is that when his fist glows yellow, that's when you want to let go. Right? So that is, there's the regular one, there's the blue spark release, and then there's like a general charge one as well. Right? There's the blue spark charge. And it's pretty reliable to do. Even though it's blue spark, it's not a perfect frame input. It's a just frame. So they create a little window of time where it's acceptable to release. And it's not the only move that has that. He also has down forward 1-2, sorry. Down forward 1-2 with this just frame release input. So by itself, down forward 1-2 is -13. This is punishable. Significantly punishable. There's the charge version, +1. And then there's the just release version as well.
So his down forward 1-2 also has a hold version now.
Yep, so they're showing the hold versus non-hold. And there's the blue spark version. So what's important to note here is the blue spark version, as far as I know, looks uninterruptible. So it is -9. It's not like a plus frame move, but it's a safe mid extension. So if I go back to the charge version, this I believe is interruptible, probably with the jab.
So he's down
You
forward
can't parry
1-2,
charge moves,
also
so
has
probably a
full
jab
version now.
or maybe a sidestep. However, it's going to be risky to attempt sidestepping or jabbing this because of the fast version, the Blue Spark release. New mechanic, looks pretty scary, gives Heihachi a lot of offensive options already as a pretty strong offensive character. We're probably going to see a lot of that. I think it's hard to understate how oppressive that's going to be. Even if you're very sharp, a down forward one is fast, the follow-ups are going to be fast, we'll be doing a lot of stand blocking. Now, next they talk about his two new stances, Fujin Kamae and Raijin Kamae. I have all the moves listed below, so I'm not going to explain them super in depth, but they go into it move by move, just kind of visually. They don't really explain it. I had to sit and pause to get all this frame data. Fujin Kamae can be manually entered with down 1+2. As you can see. And then they go through each of his moves. So the main function of this stance is they want it to continue his stance pressure, or his offensive pressure. Think of like Reina or Lydia. He does a move, he goes into Fujin Kamae, and then he does an attack out of the stance right after. So this is the main follow-up, Fujin 1-1. Depending on the move he used to go into Fujin, this can be guaranteed. So we'll see it come up later. Fujin 2 is a mid option to counter or to complement the high that we just saw. Fujin 1-1 was a high. This is like, it's called like Hidden Wind God Fist. It's like an electric. It's -10, so it's not plus on block, but it's so you can't duck freely. It's a tornado launcher. There is his Fujin 3. He jumps over lows, and it's a mid. I believe the extension is an aerial tailspin, so he gets a mini combo. Or maybe a full combo. I'm not sure. Fujin 4 is a stomp, so they gave him a low out of this stance that is a similar speed to his other moves, right? So, bit scary. I don't think there's going to be defensive options where you can just cover the mid option and duck the low without risking getting clipped, right? Because he can, as far as I know, he can delay the mid. I'm willing to be wrong, but I didn't have early access to Heihachi. I don't know. He has a homing mid here. Yeah, same speed. The homing mid, 18 frames. Let me rewind and play that. Fujin 1+2. Oh, there's the Fujin stomp, and then there's Fujin 1+2, a homing mid, both 18 frames. So the mid and the low are the same speed. Now, given the mid is unsafe, -13, but it's a homing mid, so you know it has a lot of properties. It should be unsafe. One option they haven't shown yet is going to be the Fujin grab. There it is, headbutt. +7 when it hits, so a lot of frame advantage. Does push back a bit, so you don't get a perfect mix-up. And they'll cover this later, but under certain conditions, he will go into another stance after this. I believe it's on Warrior Instinct, so it might be Heat. You'll see in a bit. Here's some examples of the stance in action. So when he does forward 3, if you hold down, he goes into stance. And you'll notice on normal hit, not counter hit, it's +12 into stance. Meaning, take a look at Fujin 1-1, a 12 frame high. There's a guaranteed follow-up. This is by design. This puts him in heat off of a safe mid.
So an easy way to also transition this combo.
Obviously, that's really fun for the pilot,
if you remember the forward.
but that's pretty crazy to have a safe advancing mid that goes into a stance follow-up on hit, guaranteed. Moving on, forward 4 also can go into Fujin, right? So he does the axe kick, holds down, and goes into Fujin stance. This is +7, so there's no guaranteed follow-up, but it gives him a lot of frame trapping options, right? So, for example, Fujin 2, 15 frame mid, will at +7, will trade with Rage Art. So you can Rage Art out of this unless this move would kill you. But your defensive options are otherwise pretty limited. He can also use Fujin 1-1 to snipe you before you can even Rage Art at all.
Or you could also choose to enter this stance from his right axe.
Yes, so they're explaining again that you can enter the stance this way. So they want Heihachi to go into stance off of his very strong mids already. It's not just have big mids and watch knee block you for 60 seconds. It's safe mid or plus frame mid into advancing stance into mix-up. It's kind of an extension of the casino gameplay that people have been very critical of, and I've also been critical of it, although in my opinion, prior to the DLC characters, it was restricted to a few members of the cast. So I think this is setting an interesting precedent that I will explain more later on as we see more of the Heihachi moves. Yes. Because it's +7 on hit, he basically has all of his options become frame traps except the jumping kick, Fujin 3, right? The 18 frame moves, like the armor and the stomp, you can technically jab out of. But again, because he has the armor move, because he has the high heat engage, because he has the mid tornado launcher, mashing out of this is a risk. A pretty substantial risk, if you ask me. Here they show a sample combo based on forward 3 down. So it's not just an offensive tool, it's a combo tool. So forward 4-2, Fujin 3 down, or forward 3 down to go into Fujin. And then into this combo. Take a look at it one more time. He does launcher, forward 3 into Fujin, mid electric tornado, strong aerial tailspin, wall splat. Interesting bread and butter combo. I will say that the animations look really cool. I think that's really, really sick. I skipped a whole thing here. Where did that go? Here we go. My bad. I didn't realize it was completely out of order. So, Did I really miss more? Wow. That was a disaster. So that's Fujin step.
You also notice that
or the Fujin stance. What they also show is, like Reina, he can cancel the Fujin step into a wave dash. They can cancel the Fujin stance into the Fujin step. My terminology is everywhere. By holding down forward. And this gives you easy access to a lot of moves that are generally harder to do. So this is an adjustment to be more beginner friendly. By doing Fujin down forward, you can do his just frame inputs more easily. That's not one of them. That is full crouch down forward 2, a new 15 frame mid launcher from crouch, which is also a crazy buff to Heihachi, because before he could not launch from crouch at 15 frames, now he can. But there you go. This is what I wanted to show. It's not this brand new while standing launcher that's incredibly strong. It's the electric. The no longer have to do a perfect input if you do it from Fujin step. It's an easy mode electric, and he has an easy mode Omen Thunder God Fist. These are both very precise inputs, very high execution skills that they wanted to make more accessible with the Fujin step. No comment on that. That is what it is. To me, people were complaining about special style. I think this is more egregious because special style restricts your other options while you do it. This is just available to anybody at any time. Right? There's no downside except the fact that you have to do it from stance. But as we saw earlier, the stance is very accessible and has plenty of threats to make you hesitate. So I think it's very reasonable to use this in even high-level competitive play. Of course, I don't know yet because we don't have them yet. Here's some sample offensive flowcharts coming from the Fujin stance, but yeah, you can see it. It's right there. He does axe kick to get plus frames. He threatens the Fujin stance move, right? Or he does a while standing move from the crouch dash. And if you respect it, then he can just do something like that and put you in a mix-up. So it's going to be tons of stances coming out of his already strong normal moves in neutral, right? Here they show a bunch of moves that go into Fujin. So forward 3 is one. Axe kick, forward 4 is another. And then he can do it from 1-2-2 and forward 2-2. So say he gets like a quick punish or something like that. He can go into a Fujin stance mix-up right away. It's not as extreme frame advantage. It's only +4. But it's important to note that he has access to this. So Fujin stance looks very, very strong. The options individually in the stance obviously have weaknesses. So you can look forward to Heihachi players downplaying his weaknesses in stance. But yeah, this is going to be a very, very strong new option to the game. The next stance is Raijin Kamae. So he had a stance like this before, but it's completely enhanced, right? Before, he had a few options from the stance, but again, it was more like you saw it often as combo filler or used for the punch parry. Now it's a fully fledged Tekken stance. You can see that Heihachi holds it and charges it, but the input isn't held. So you just go into stance and he can sit there for a while. That introduces the ability to delay, obviously, or you can just sit there and look cool if you want. The idea with this stance is it has way less routes and entrances compared to the Fujin stance, but as a trade-off, it has moves with insane properties. So there's Raijin 1, mid knockdown option, but to me what's scary is Raijin 2. So you can see it's a launcher, but what they are about to show multiple times throughout this presentation is it's a homing high guard break that gives you a guaranteed 1-1-2. The reason that's relevant is because 1-1-2 at the wall is a wall splat. So you can see he's getting a combo off of it here, and if it hits your block, he still gets a follow-up. Now, the part that's insane about that to me, oh yeah, and he has a grab too. So in addition to having the guard breaking homing high, so no sidesteps, have to duck, he has Raijin 1, the knockdown mid. It is minus 11 on block, the mid. But he has this unbreakable throw as well on top of all of that. So that's a lot. And it is truly a guessing stance, right? So the fact that it's restricted to me is essential because the properties of this stance are so insane. It looks like the mid doesn't give a combo. Maybe it does at the wall, but they never really showed a situation at the wall where it would wall splat. So I had no way of knowing. Let's keep it moving. That's a really, really good stance. Down 1-2 forward goes into Raijin. So this is one of his transitions. It's minus 9 on block. Going into stance, he's minus 5. So he actually gains a bit more safety. But because, as you can see by the moves here, they're all slow enough that you should be able to interrupt it, right? I don't know if trading with the grab makes the grab fail. I'm assuming it does. But that's a little spooky. A little spooky. So that's minus 5 on block. But the good entrance into Raijin, because of course he's going to have one, is back 2. You'll remember that charge move from before. Goes plus 8 into Raijin. So unless you're willing to play the game of trying to snipe him out of back 2 or sidestepping it, I don't think you're going to be reacting to the charge. That is way too fast, right? Yes, it's a 39 frame move with the charge, but again, he can just do the regular one. And it's not just like he has that move in isolation. He has down forward 1s, jabs, forward 4s, forward 3s, etc. So while you're respecting his other moves, he can charge it back 2, go into Raijin at plus 8, which creates a true frame trap for this high mid mix-up. The guard break high is 17 frames. Raijin 1 is 17 frames as well. So you won't be able to jab him out of it. Now, if you do try to rage art, this is where the unbreakable throw will actually beat you. So in a situation where you block a charge back 2, you cannot rage art out of this if he goes for the throw. And the throw is unbreakable. Moving forward. That is a very, very strong stance. 47 minutes. Heat state. So we have insane stances, insane normals. Let's talk about the heat state. This is really, really good too. So the main heat engager we're going to see is forward 1+2, the demon paw. Almost every demon paw in this game is a heat engager. I can't think of an example that isn't.
So first off,
the other heat engager that you'll see commonly that they will cover is forward 3 on hit into Fujin 1-1.
Another easy way to enter heat state.
Nice, perfect timing. Right, so that's guaranteed if the forward 3 hits. When you go into heat, his chest scar glows. Neat little cool. I actually like things like that a lot. I think that's cool, right? Like gameplay balance aside, the design of Heihachi having small details like this is really cool. Right. I think that's important to note. He has a punch parry also that's a heat engager. I assume it's a punch parry. This is new to the game, so I have no clue how this works. In the previous game, when he did this like animation, he would take the hit, take damage, and parry anything. It was unique. Now, they've only shown it with punches, so I assume it's a punch parry only. If it were a kick parry, that would suck. But Steve Fox is in shambles already. That's the main ways he gets the heat. He has a couple engagers. He has the defensive heat engager. Obviously, his heat burst. Other options like that. In heat, he has 2 heat smashes. This one breaks the floor and does 50 damage. This one is a wall splat and does 50 damage prior to whatever combo you're about to eat. And look at how far it wall splats from. He starts doing like a Kazumi combo, Tekken 7 reference, and then he gets a full combo at the wall. He didn't do one there in the demonstration, but yeah, 2 heat smashes. The way you decide between them is like Jin. You hold forward after the initial hit, right? That the initial hit's the same, and then it decides between the 2 depending on whether what your input is, forward or neutral. Let's look at some heat specific moves. So in heat, he has a new ground pound.
So the first one is
down back 1+2. And this, as you can see, is a flip over on hit. Does some damage, and on block, they don't show it, but it creates a 50-50 situation on block. They said that explicitly. So, that's cool. I'm assuming it's just like huge hit stun, kind of like Fangs. He has a new move, down 3-2. So down 3 is already a move. He gains the 2 extension. So it becomes an on-the-ground hit. Fighting game players often call this OTG. That's news to me. I was really only a Tekken player. I didn't know all these things. So look at that. Tons of guaranteed follow-ups, like up forward 4 into the guaranteed double stomp. Speaking of up forward 4, he also gets an extension to this move. So up forward 4 is his homing jumping mid kick. Now it gains a mid extension with the lightning that wall splats. It's also +2 on block, which is pretty good. Pretty good because from early gameplay that was released, it seems like Heihachi is pretty decent movement. So +2 on block, being with a character with, like, say, strong sidesteps and backdashes is really, really good. In heat state, Fujin stance gains a high mid parry. So 1-2-2 gets punished, but then he goes into stance and parries. This looks a lot like what Lydia does when she goes into Heaven and Earth stance, right? High mid parry, we don't know if it's a strong parry, right? Like, say, Jin's. So we don't know if elbows, headbutts are immune to this. The animation Heihachi is doing was his previous universal parry. So in the previous games, when he did this parry, where you see him, like, grabbing him like this, he took damage and then would kick them back to return damage. Here he doesn't take damage, but the reason I'm wondering if this is a strong parry that handles way more moves than just punches and kicks is because the animation previously used to take literally anything. So we don't know what kind of parry this is. If it's a strong parry, that's insanely good. Because like Reina has a situation like this too. When she's in heat, her stance, Heaven's Wrath, has a built-in parry. But you can circumvent that by doing a hop kick, right? Because jumping moves aren't parryable traditionally. However, strong parries can counter hop kicks. So we need to know if Heihachi has a strong parry here or not. I harp on that because it really is looking extremely oppressive. The other option on top of everything is his Fujin stance throw, the headbutt, now transitions to Raijin's stance. You remember Raijin's stance's balancing factor was that it's hard to get into. No longer. Now, the Fujin stance, which is easy to get into, also gives him easy access to the Raijin stance. So here are some example flowcharts where Fujin, grab, Raijin, guard break, 1-1-2. Right? And at the wall, that'll wall splat. Fujin, grab, headbutt, Raijin, uppercut. So if you duck, you get hit. And then he can go into the other grab as well, which I think they're about to show. No, they just show the guard break again. Oh my goodness, that's right. I didn't even think about that. Did you see what just happened? Are you guys watching? Look at this. So he does Fujin, grab, headbutt, 1 guard break, 1-2-2, right? Which doesn't knock down, but lets him go into Fujin again to grab again, to go to Raijin again, to guard break again, to 1-1-2. You're really calling me a shill, huh? The next thing to cover is Heihachi's install, the Mishima-style ultimate technique Warrior Instinct. By the way, if you don't know what an install is, because I didn't, here's the fighting game glossary by Infill. I believe it comes from Soul Bad Guy's Dragon install in Guilty Gear. But it's basically an empowered state. You go Super Saiyan, okay? That's the best way to think about it. So, Heihachi has this new mechanic, Warrior Instinct, from the Mishima-style. It's their ultimate technique. He gains stacks every time he activates heat. Now, unlike Lydia, where she gains it every time she goes into Heaven and Earth, he gains it entering heat, which means you can only use it starting round 3. You can only use it once per game, and it's only active for the round that you use it. So it's extremely overpowered. Those are the limitations. How do you activate it? Well, once you've accrued 3 stacks, you press 1+4. And then he does this pose. Now he's in Ultimate Warrior Instinct. You gain 20 gray health, which is fascinating. Look at his health right now. Look at when he activates it. 20 gray health, right? So he gains the ability to heal a bit more. What does this empowered state give you? If you haven't looked at the timestamps already, here's what it looks like. Airborne hits in a combo do permanent damage instead of gray health. That is a really big deal. The last hit grounded here does do some gray health, right? That is a really big deal. Compare that. Look at his HP right now. Look at what happens when he does the combo without the buff state. Douche, 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 douche. Right? So it does half HP, but you can heal back up to 3/4 HP. And that's how combos are balanced in Tekken 8, right? That's how the balancing of this game is built on the fact that you can do crazy combos. You can also heal it back by being aggressive. Now, they will turn off health recovery here so you can look at it again just to do that comparison. Remember, you could heal to 3/4 HP. Now you're really stuck at half HP, 92 specifically. So if he does this combo one more time, you're at 2 HP. and I guess 16 gray health. Good luck. Other buffs in this state is he gets a safe hell sweep. I don't know if this is interruptible. I believe it's uninterruptible based on what we saw in the trailer, or maybe I'm thinking of other gameplay that was released. But this move is supposed to stagger. It doesn't anymore. And I think they even referenced Tekken 3. I think it was like this in Tekken 3, which is pretty hilarious. I don't think I need to explain why this is so good. For a character with no lows, giving him a low that no longer staggers is really good. And you'll see that it does stagger here, but the second hit of his hell sweep staggering has always been only -10. Degen is +10, he's -10. That's always been a Heihachi thing. So stagger lows are usually launch punishable, not the second spin of Heihachi's hell sweep. That's never changed, but the fact that the first one doesn't stagger is kind of insane. Basically, even they say it, Heihachi, when he goes into insult, is supposed to win that round. They said you use it when you want to take that round. How I hear that is Heihachi is supposed to win the round. Other buffs. Fujin 2 becomes safe. It's -10 normally. It's -3 in Ultra Instinct. Warrior Instinct. Sorry. That's a big deal. He gets a safe launching mid. Moving on. Forward 4 becomes well, it's always +15, so he always gets Twin Piston, right? The difference here is Twin Piston in Warrior Instinct becomes a Tornado Launcher. So that means off of his plus frame mid, if you duck it, he gains a full combo. Technically a Tornado combo, but as you can see, because he has a strong aerial tailspin off of Hell Axle, the jumping double kick, it's effectively a full combo. It's effectively a full combo. Here's an example of what the Twin Piston looks like normally without the install. They do show that. Normally, you just get a little wake-up situation. But yeah, as you can see before, install gives a full combo. Finally, 1+2 Demon's Breath gives a follow-up guaranteed. His 12-frame punish. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. That did... What did that do? 34... plus 24. Ow. That's a 58 damage punish. Wall splatting. Although, I guess the heat part doesn't, or the install doesn't really change that. So, Heihachi is really, really good. What are his weaknesses? Well, when you listen to the developers talk about it, I will just turn up their audio and let you hear it.
And Nakatsu was just saying that he still has his weaknesses, like he's always been kind of weak to sidestepping, or not many options for low. So, yes, that's a factor. But it's important always, I say this anytime anybody says their character has weaknesses, is to look at the moves in the context of the entire kit, right? Heihachi has so many options to open you up with his stances, so many ways to get into those stances genuinely to force you to guess, that the no lows thing is kind of a moot point. The lack of sidestepping is already, or the weakness to sidestepping is already covered by delaying your dash, wave dashing to realign it. And if you're getting sniped out of that forward movement, you can put out an immediate electric to dissuade people from doing that. Mind you, all of these things, they didn't even mention like the basic Mishima stuff. The fact that he has an electric wind god fist is a plus frame advancing high launcher that you can die for at any time. Right? So it's not just these big stance options, big moves going into stance. If you want to stop him from doing it, you have to risk dying to electric. Now, I've been pretty critical, but what I will say is they've done some really funny stuff with this character, and they've shown a lot of love to the character in general. His backback 3+4 used to be a runaway move. They've taken it out, unless he's in heat. That move right there, where he runs away and laughs. They've made it even more BM, where it is only available in heat and immediately exits heat state. It burns all of your gauge to run away and laugh. That is so BM. I can't even believe they put that in. But I enjoy the fact that I'll just let some of the rest of the demonstration run. I enjoy the fact that there is some love and care into the game. In a world of a lot of esports and microtransactions and marketing, putting some character into the game like that is really cool to me, right? I appreciate things like that. So they're just showing some like offensive stuff here. He's noodling around. Nice to have fun and kind of let loose. One thing that they did add that they really, really glossed over is Heihachi now has access to the perfect electric input that Kazuya and Reina have. So it's forward, neutral, down, forward, 2. So people get this confused when they're new to Tekken. Perfect electric does not mean getting the electricity. Perfect electric means skipping the down input and just doing down, forward, 2, right? This gives you access to a 13 frame electric. If you don't get the electricity effect, that's called a Wind God Fist. You get the electric, that's called an electric Wind God Fist. Perfect electric Wind God Fist is this specific input. Forward, neutral, down, forward, 2. Okay. Heihachi having access to this changes a lot, right? It's a faster electric, first of all. We don't know what guaranteed follow-ups exist. We did see that his forward 4, the axe kick, was plus 15 on hit. A perfect electric is within that window. Actually, you could be imperfect with that electric. You could do it late and still get it, assuming the axe kick doesn't leave them in crouch. So what I actually want to do real quick before I continue talking is look back at this forward 4. Previously, it would leave you in crouch, so you had to do down, forward, 1, 2. Where is this? Oh, here. 1. Okay. So this is in his install state, which is, it might have different frame data. Actually, no. They show an example without it. So this is perfect. Example twin piston without install. What we want to see here is what happens when this hits. So the opponent is left crouching. So an electric will miss here, right? That's an important detail. What we want to see and test is what does the axe kick look like when it hits them standing, right? Say that you caught them sidestepping or something like that. If it's still extremely plus and an electric is possible, that is a big change. So that's the Heihachi recap. With a few minutes here, I just want to talk about what I think about this. I think I love the visuals. They've paid so much attention to his animations. They've made him clearly very fun for new people going to play him. He's the figurehead of Tekken along with Kazuya. So it makes sense they would do this. Now, my concern is not just that he's Stance McGee. And a lot of characters in Tekken 8 are stance, offense, stance, right? That's one concern already. I think there's a beauty to Tekken outside of stance offense. And the fact that they've kind of leaned away from that is already something that is difficult for me. The other thing that's frustrating is this sets a precedent for the other DLC characters. Heihachi's DLC 3 of 4. There are going to be 4 for this year. And he's followed the pattern of having new stances, having a install mechanic on top of his heat gauge. And even though it's once per round, it's extremely powerful. How do you make a new DLC character after this without taking away from that? Either you keep building up these new install mechanics because Lydia has one, Eddie has one, or you end up releasing a character that has less. Are people going to be drawn to a character? What is the sales incentive if you take away mechanics? That is already a concern for me. On top of that, what if they decide to add them to the main roster? Right? Nina doesn't have an install now. She just gets empowered guns. What if they decide to give her an install? Claudio does have an install with the Starburst mechanic. What if they give one to Jin Kazama? Right? I think it is every time they add something, it's going to create a problem for them in the future, or they will feel like, in my opinion, that they might be taking it away if they choose not to include it. There are so many cool characters in Tekken that don't need install mechanics. Miguel is a common part of the conversation. Tons of people want Miguel to come back. His aggressive style, his movement-based style would fit Tekken very well. He was already a stance character, but his entrances to stance were pretty fair, right? Like he had to earn his offense, and then he could beat you up when he's up close. If they dumb it down and make it so that he gets big 50-50s from range, he gets into stance for free and then just casinos again, then you just have an Eddie 2.0, a Lydia 2.0, right? And not everybody is looking for that from their Tekken experience. It's a very flashy and attractive style, but there are some people out there who really just want kind of the original way of playing Tekken. And I embrace the new style of Tekken 8. I think it's interactive. I think it's fun. But yeah, there are people craving this original style of earn your offense with your movement and your defense, and turn that into mix-up opportunities after, right? That style is not completely gone, but is certainly by the wayside compared to the more aggressive style of Tekken 8. Now, all that said, I have made it a point to not complain about it Not because I'm paid by Bandai Namco, but because I think it's important to recognize the game we have now, understand reasonably what are the developers probably going to change, and set expectations accordingly. So I'm willing to be critical about the systems. I've criticized the rank system. I've criticized Eddie's and Lydia's neutral design. But at a certain point, I think it's important to recognize what is going to change and what isn't. With this Heihachi change, I'm concerned that the character direction might continue in this direction, but I'd be excited to be surprised. I would be excited to see a kind of a bare bones character, or say they put in Lei Wulong and just let the original stance complexity exist without a lot of the new heat mechanics on top of it. So that's my take on Heihachi. Hopefully you enjoyed the summary. Bit of a longer video still, but you can see why I split it up now. Thank you for the support for everybody who is super positive and encouraging. It really does mean a lot. And even though this video is a bit more critical, I hope you did enjoy it. Please let me know. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.